Coming to you from Crash Studios in Music City, USA, Nashville. This is the Rich Redmond Show. On this episode, singer-songwriter Maggie Rose. And now, Rich Redmond.
What is up, folks out there in music land? It's that time. Yep, another exciting edition of the Rich Redmond Show, coming to you from two cities. And as always, my co-host, Jim McCarthy, JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com. Jim, what's up?
How you doing, buddy?
Dude, today was a Wednesday. It's Wednesday, but it feels like a Monday. There was a lot going on.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I would agree.
A lot of moving parts.
On?
Oh, just
What's
stuff,
going on?
Just like they call it admin, adminning your life, all that little silly stuff that happens that you just don't want to deal with. I'd rather go slam some drums, but it's like, no, this needs to happen, that needs to happen. And I just procrastinate. But hey, good things come to those who wait, because this episode, man, we have rescheduled this thing so many times. But I'm telling you, Jim, it is worth it, because today's guest is a genre-bending rock, pop, soul, country singer-songwriter, our friend Maggie Rose. How are you?
Hey, Rich. Hey, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for that lovely introduction.
We've got, we try to be wacky like a morning radio show, but then we try to be fun like a late night show. But the point of this thing is just to shed the light, some positive light on our guests, and we talk about things like music, motivation, and success. So I know that you have a lot to talk about, because you have a new single out. What are we fighting for? You were just kind of treating us, our ear holes to that just a few seconds ago during little sound check. Sounds amazing. And that's from the forthcoming record, Have a Seat, which is probably going to come out this summer. And this single just dropped like 2 weeks ago, and the video is amazing, super psychedelic and awesome, and it's been on MTV and CMT. So tell us about that.
So Have a Seat is an album that I recorded down at Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals. Have you ever been able to have some sessions there?
It's so funny. I haven't made it down there, but I used to teach drums at the University of North Alabama in Florence, which is like right across the way. So it's still on the bucket list. Tell me about it.
Most of the musicians who are known for contributing their work to Fame live in Florence, and it's such a great community. It's only a couple hours from Nashville. Yeah. And for those of you listening, I'm wearing my Aretha Franklin t-shirt
awesome.
In honor of that project that we did, because she recorded there, and Otis Redding and Wilson Pickett and the Allman Brothers and the Stones and all these amazing people went to the studio that's kind of in the middle of nowhere, because it had such great history. And this guy, Rick Hall, got a hit with Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman, and then kept these artists coming in and cutting hit record after hit record. And I've definitely combined the sounds of Muscle Shoals with what I've learned to do here in Nashville. And I've been here for 13 years, and I've picked up a few things on the way, but it was nice to bring my band, which is Them Vibes, and combine them with some of these legendary players like David Hood, who played on Mustang Sally, but then also have some of the band members from the Shakes. And my producer is Ben Tanner of Alabama Shakes. And it's something that I've been wanting to do. My last record, Change the Whole Thing, I made here in Nashville at Starstruck, and it was live. And I did that with 16 people at once in a room at times. And this was a way to expound on that, but make it more conceptual and use the word psychedelic for the videos. And we kind of do what you're known for in Muscle Shoals with the soul and the funk and those throwback elements, but we made it contemporary by making it our own and doing what we have learned to do in all these years in Nashville, which is such a great place to learn and be a sponge.
Yeah.
But the title Have a Seat is about inclusivity, and a lot of that points to what we're talking about with transcending genre and finding my seat at the proverbial table in this musical landscape that is becoming so diverse, especially here in our city. But it's also about inviting everyone to have a seat at the table and talk and communicate and just having a space to listen to one another.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge theme. And I wrote a lot of this material and recorded it, all of it actually, before the pandemic began, and then got to sit on this material and kind of tweak it because I wanted to tour to support the record. And it resonates with me now more than ever. So it feels like the right time to finally share it with everybody.
Wow.
We got to put some really great visuals together.
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, the video is fantastic. The song is fantastic. We're going to be treated to that this summer. You have so many great events coming up, and, you know, going back to Fame. I mean, that is, yeah. If those walls could talk, if that carpet could talk, I mean, it's just, you know,
I don't want the carpet to talk.
They said the same thing about Sound City Studios in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's such an awesome place.
Right. But it's like, it's like you can get a little, like paranoid, like don't change the wood paneling. Don't change the coffee machine. So many great things. Don't touch a thing. I mean, I know that a lot of projects that I'm in where it's like, call the same players, get the same catering. It's been working, you know?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a little bit of that with the physical studio, Fame itself. It's a time capsule. It looks just like it did when all those artists I referenced were recording there.
Yeah.
But for me, I have to change it up. I had to kind of borrow some of that magic for this project. And with all this time to collaborate with my band, who luckily they live mostly in the Nashville area.
Right.
We've been able to keep working under the radar and putting some projects together for sync that are totally out of the realm musically of anything that I've done, because I get sick of myself and I have to kind of
Don't we all? God.
It was also kind of hard to, well, I mean, one would hope, right? If you've been doing it as long as we have, it's about not being not focused. It's about capability. And if that's where your life is taking you, then go there.
Right.
There are no rules, in my opinion. Just try and make it great.
I love that. And I hope that genre bending was the most appropriate description for you, because I feel like it's like there's everything in your recipe. I mean, you've thrown everything into your roux, all your influences and all the things that excite you and the way that you express your music. I mean, I feel like you are very prolific. The 13 years that you've been in Nashville, you've always had something come out. And every record, there's little gems on every record. Some are more pop leaning with like loops and stuff, and some are more like the throwback. But I love that thing that you did at Starstruck, the record before, where you went in, no vocal tuning, no punching, just kick her off. Where did that idea come from? Was that just something you wanted to prove to the world, or was it just like, let's do this old school like they used to do it?
It's a combination of all those things. And it actually was having nothing to prove. I had hit this point in my career where, you know, you and I met years ago, and I was out on the country radio circuit.
That's right.
And making music that I very much love, but I was doing it the way that I was told things were done when I was a teenager, and I moved to Nashville and Music Row, and, you know, you get this band together and they're session musicians, and there's no denying that they're some of the best musicians out there, but no, I wasn't finding that like unique band that really plays into the nuance of a particular sound for this project. And my label folded. And with that, the single that I had at country radio just fizzled out, because that takes a whole machine. It takes an army to get those things up the charts and to a position where it's getting the exposure that you need to sustain a career and a label.
Yeah.
And I had all these things stripped away from me. And I just wrote for maybe 2 years, every day, I think, without exaggeration. The most I've written in that amount of time. And I'm not saying everything was gold, but I got to really ask questions of myself that I hadn't up until that point.
Right.
And one of them was, what am I really capable of in the studio? And how well can I sing, and what does my voice sound like and my performance sound like when I'm not comping a line together every word for the quote unquote perfect take, but really allowing this magic to happen in the room where you can hear the drum sounds bleeding through the vocal mic because we're not in isolation booths, and just that energy.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have a label at the time telling me I needed to deliver this piece of music by this date,
Yeah.
I was totally untethered, and that's what I wanted to do. And I made it with my friends, and a lot of them are part of successful bands themselves. So they got to be part of this project that was an escape for them. And Brother Love and Alex Dad and Larry and Sarah of Them Vibes were in the room.
Yeah, can you tell us about those guys? Because that's kind of like your
They're
posse.
my crew.
Yeah.
They're my crew. I collaborate with them all the time. Sarah is a drummer. Sarah Tomek.
Yeah.
You know her.
Wonderful. Got to have her on the show. We're going to talk drums.
Mutual admiration society
Absolutely.
between you two. But she's this badass drummer, and she moved to Nashville to be in my band 9 years ago. And she's stuck with me through every permutation of whatever ensemble has been around me. She's been with me and helped me through a lot of the emotional challenges that I've had and financial and all these things to get to where we are.
Yeah.
But her husband is Brother Love.
Right.
And they met when Sarah and I were together playing on a Blake Shelton cruise. And they were part of a band called Her in Kings County with Warner Brothers, Larry and Alex. And that relationship blossomed. And then we got in a writing room together, Larry, Alex, and I. And the first song we wrote together was called I Won't. And it was bluesy, swingy, kind of sloshy, unapologetic wailer. And then we wrote Pull You Through for Change the Whole Thing, which was probably the biggest single that we had off that record. And we had something magic. And I love their sound, Them Vibes. They have their own original material. And it's
That's
really
awesome when your
funky
backing band is a
Right.
band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, Linda Ronstadt had the
That was
Eagles
the
backing her
example I
up
use
for
all the time.
Hello,
I love that. And I think that's Nashville to me.
Well, Nashville has a community. It's like I have spent time in other music cities, and I know you have too, and it's just something really special where at 10 o'clock, that song is being written and everybody is part of this beautiful cog in the wheel, and we all play our part to get that song created and recorded and promoted so we can go out and take the music to the people. And every person in that wheel is just as important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it also it's a way that I've evolved is by surrounding myself with really talented people.
Yeah.
And I interrupted you when you were saying the Linda Ronstadt Eagles partnership, but that is something that's really cool that you can have these two entities that support each other in a genuine way, but provide a really different experience.
Sure.
We have nights of music where Them Vibes will open up and then back me up. And also that is true support when they can front their set and then get behind me and bring to life music that some we've written together and some I've written elsewhere. And it's just a collaboration. It feels really sustainable for the first time in a long time, the last couple of years, and how we're doing this, because before, the awareness, especially on a Monday afternoon, anyone who knows anything about radio promo, those ad numbers come in, and I really believed that my career lived and died by what was being reported. And that's just nonsense. Like, that's just absolute backwards
It's a tough road.
thinking.
Yeah. The music
And it wasn't
business.
putting the music first.
Right. Jim did 20 years in radio, so he knows all about how it got.
But yeah, I see him nodding along.
He's
It
like,
makes me think of there was a band in Connecticut and New York area that they had a small hit in the 90s, and it was a friend of mine that played bass in it, and they kind of had like that Matchbox 20 type of sound. Mm-hmm. And I used to follow the charts in the radio station on R&R on how their song was performing. So I felt the stress of it, and I wasn't even connected to the band.
Right.
It was weird.
You're like more spins, and then nowadays,
how many ads?
How many spins or plays are you getting on the streaming services? And then if you're a songwriter, oh my God, things have been so affected by that because now you're making 0.00001% of. It's so tough. It's all changing, and just to but you said you're putting the music first and just letting the chips fall where they may, which for many great creatives usually works out better.
Yes. I think if your goal is to make music for a very long time and do it in a way that, I want 10 years to look back at what I'm releasing today and be proud and know that that was the best music I could put forth at the time. And
where do you want to be in 10 years?
I want to be talking to you guys about the 7th great album that I'm about to put out. I don't know why I picked 7 because this is number 3. So I have some work to do in 10 years, but I
think it'd be 10 records, probably 10 records.
Well, you said I'm prolific.
That's right.
Now that it's on, here's the challenge. In 10 years, I want to be still making music the way that I'm making it. And there's other aspirations that this pandemic has shown me with the podcast and Salute the Songbird and the reaching out to my peers and counterparts and helping amplify their voices. And I want to become a better piano player and helping other artists find their voice as a co-writer. It's a lot of what I've been doing too during this time is writing with people who are just starting to put their first project together, and being a part of something from the ground up like that is really exciting to me because I've had to live through some interesting experiences that I feel like I could offer to a young artist who's 10 years younger than me and just starting off.
So you're mentoring, and that'll probably lead to production, and then things can grow from there, which is very exciting. So I wanted to talk to you about the podcast. Jim, did you have a question, bud?
I was wondering about the podcast. Yeah, I mean, just how did?
Tell us about this awesome podcast. It's on this killer network. You can find it wherever podcasts are found, and you're shining a light on your fellow female musical heroes. So tell us about that. I listened to it. I love it. I did a deep dive.
Thank you. Well, thank you. That's a compliment because I love your program too. And I think that it's a way to keep the socialization going. Osiris Media is the company that I launched this podcast with. And my husband, Austin, and I are Fish fans. The band Fish. It's a jam band. And
you can have like 13-minute songs or 22-minute songs.
Right,
whatever.
Absolutely. I know. And no set list is ever the same. So being a part of a band yourself, you could understand how that might be a little stressful, but it's the camaraderie that I love. But anyway, we could talk about that for a long time. Osiris is run by one of the head lyricists of Fish, and they have this great podcast called Past, Present, Future Live, hosted by the other co-founder, RJB, who interviewed me, and it was an episode that they really enjoyed. It was probably a little bit different from their normal guests as well, and their producer, Kirsten Cluthy, who's my producer now for Salute the Songbird, realized that they didn't have a lot of female hosts, and there was a bit of a shortage of one female artist talking to another. Even with all the great music podcasts that are out there, there was just not like an abundance of that, especially someone at my level. And I wanted it to be all genre, any level of establishment. You know, we have Nancy Wilson and Kathy Valentine on, but I also have Ruby Amanfu, who's a Grammy-nominated songwriter, but I want more people to know about her.
Martina, Nancy Wilson.
Martina McBride, who I got to go on tour with. A lot of these women are people that I met through touring. And in the absence of that this year, this was my way to fill that void. And now that I have the momentum with the first season done, I'm kind of like, all right, let's keep it going, because I can take it wherever I am taken on the road.
I like that you have the seasons. That's like super classy. And so it's like a lot of pre-preparation, right? Do you kind of decide the whole season ahead? I like to at least get 5 episodes in the can, because I want these episodes to be as topical as we can possibly make them. But I also think a lot of the things that we're talking about are evergreen. And even if you're not an audiophile or someone who's super obsessive about what goes into the career of a musician, I think that it's for everybody. I'm not trying to leave the boys out, but some things I don't leave the boys out in any other aspect of my life. So with the podcast, it was fun to just be like, okay, what am I an expert on, and what can I riff on for an hour and a half with someone else? And a lot of it does go back to this perspective that we all have. And each discussion has been wildly different from the next, but it's made me a better musician, because I'm just listening to great records and sometimes reading fascinating memoirs of these guests before we talk. And it's just been a nice year of consuming a ton of music and feeling like I'm also widening my social circle. Now, to celebrate this podcast, you also have a live event coming up. Is that April 28th? It's going to be at the City Winery? No? Yes?
Yes, that's right.
We got to get all of
That's
Nashville
right.
out there. I'm assuming they're gonna space people out and all that kind of stuff. And
They're going to socially distance the crowd. We're also going to make it available for streaming.
Nice.
For people who aren't in Nashville or nearby. And it's a bit of a writers in the round where they now kind of check in with some of our season 1 songbirds. And it's some cool guests. We have Elizabeth Cook and Nicole Atkins and Kaylee Shore and Nikki Bloom.
Yes.
And Gillette Johnson, who just released a fantastic album. And then we'll have a few people maybe surprise popping in.
Yeah. That you can do that in Nashville. No big deal. It's like, hey,
Right,
Faith Hill's
I
here.
know.
Martina's here.
Exactly. Just one of the many perks of
So that'll
living
be
in close
great.
proximity.
And then you have something coming up on April 16th. It's not quite a tour, but you're going to head to, is it Cervantes? Is that how you pronounce it?
Cervantes in Denver.
Yeah.
Cervantes.
With
Cervantes.
your backing band, them vibes. I don't even know if they would be. They're not going to be offended by the backing band because at that particular time they're backing you.
They're
Right.
a great band.
Oh,
yes.
they're a great
They'll be
band,
rocking.
and a portion of the tickets is going to benefit the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, which is any help for musicians in these perilous times is going to be great. It's an organization that provides financial assistance to musicians that are suffering from illness or disability. So, are you excited? You got to be excited. Are you gonna? I'm doing some playing in May. I'm so excited about getting to
It's
see my
crazy
guys.
to even talk about this. I
Yes.
feel so out of practice promoting upcoming shows because for a while we got so protective of even making those plans because
Yeah.
you just knew that you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But now I just got my second vaccination on
Vaxxed.
Monday. I felt like crap yesterday, but that's not to deter anyone from getting it because most other people I've seen have been fine.
Yeah,
But it just feels like the fog is lifting and
yeah.
things like the event at City Winery and going to Denver and having a bunch of rehearsals next week and seeing outdoor festivals start to come in and fill up the calendar. It's wild, and I will never not be thankful for a Sunday night show when I'm dog tired and I want to go home. I will not ever have that feeling.
Yes,
again. I say that right now. Remind me of that, please.
I always remember on like, 15, 16 years ago, like with Mr. Aldean and doing like a matinee show on Sunday and then and like 2 shows a day at the county fair and the state fair. And you're like, oh my God, I've gone through 4 pairs of underwear today and just
Right.
sweaty, and it's like, well, what's for catering? Hot dogs and elephant ears. Okay. I'm just
Right.
going to have a protein bar.
Makes me think of
Here, and
you
now
say
go.
matinee, and I think early bird dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
Doing the early bird dinner show.
Yeah. No, it's just
Hot
going to be
dogs
so
and
great.
elephant ears.
It's going to be great
now
just to be in the
Exert all your
presence.
energy.
Just hug.
You missed that though, Rich.
What's that?
Those days.
Well, those days are great because you really have something to prove. You just are full of P and V, man. Pea and vinegar, and you're just like, here we go, world. And I think one of the cool things you can do in life and a challenge in life as we age is to stay tapped into that childlike energy. And it's
Right.
like I'm trying to stay tapped into that 8-year-old that got his first Blue Sparkle snare drum and the 13-year-old that fell in love with, Martha Quinn on MTV and wanted to play in the Police and just get the first drum set. Thanks, Dad. I want to stay tapped into that. And sometimes it's challenging, but that's the goal.
Now, Maggie, before we started talking, you mentioned seeing Phantom of the Opera back in the day. About how old were you when? How old were you when you went to go see that play?
I was 5 years old.
Oh my
and I
gosh,
think
really?
I was 5 years old, around that age.
Yeah.
Young enough that my parents were like, oh, she's a little weirdo, but this is what she wants. And that's what we're going to, that's all I wanted for Christmas. And I grew up in the DC area. So we got on the train and my parents and my sisters and I went up to New York. We saw it on Broadway. And then here's the real kicker, Jim. After the show was over, my grandparents, they're super close friends, were the parents of Terry Eld, who was Carlotta in the play that night. And they surprised me by taking me to dinner with Terry, who played Carlotta after. So it was, even now as a 32-year-old, that memory is so vivid. And I had her 8x10 next to my bed for many years.
There's a good chance you probably saw it with Michael Crawford as the Phantom.
Yes.
At that
Oh,
time
Davis Gaines. I got to go backstage and see the organ and everything. Yeah. It's wild. I kind of like, even talking about this now, I feel like I need to call my parents after we hang up and just be like, thanks for that amazing.
Well, I mean, was Broadway a big influence on your singing? Because I mean, you have a very soulful, almost soulful operatic type of voice.
I loved the ability of Broadway singers and the ability to project. And I grew up a Catholic schoolgirl, so there was a lot of politeness that I think I had to kind of unlearn when I moved to Nashville. But that also plays into the fact that I was singing in church a lot, and I was doing plays, and I wasn't really singing on a stage, especially honest, emotional, original material, until I was a teenager. And even then I had parents who supported me to get a start that was relatively early. So
yeah, at 16, you're playing in the B Street band, right?
Right. Yes. You did your homework.
I mean, so that had to be exciting. And I mean, my parents did the same thing. They're like, "Hey, kid, you can't get into the bar yet. We're going to have to take you."
Right.
But they did.
Yes. I had a fake ID for the purposes of getting into these bars to play with the B Street band. And then I think I abused that accessory that I got to play in bars as well occasionally, but I'm here and it's all good.
Yep.
But they were, and they still are, the hardest working band that I know. They taught me so much about what it means to go play on a Friday afternoon at a bar on the Jersey Shore and transport people who came there to escape into the music. You know, this wasn't about, you're the best singer and, oh, you look so cute in your sundress on stage. This is about being a vehicle to transport them. And the lead singer, Glenn, who resembles the boss, like, totally, and even sounds like him. Wow. I love him so much in reflecting now, because he was kind of tough on me then. He's like, this is the power stance. And like, you know, no one cares about that. This is about these songs that are vulnerable. And I love that he respected me enough to talk to me like that as a 16, 17-year-old. And we keep in touch. And
he probably saw that spark and was like, I'm going to kind of mentor by just being a little tougher on her than I would. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Willie, the keyboard player, was helping me write set lists before and teaching the band my original material. I was writing original songs with Steve Baranian, who was in the band. He was in the office with me when I auditioned for Tommy Mottola, which was really a big catalyst for me moving to Nashville.
Yeah. When did that happen?
That was I moved into my apartment January 2008. And I was 19. I dropped out of Clemson in the middle of my sophomore year because I had met Tommy Mottola just through connections. I had a friend who was investing in me early on in my career and helped make so much of those beginning years possible. But Tommy heard what I'd written and these original songs that I would never play for you now, but they had great melodies. And I guess he saw something of potential there. And he introduced me to James Stroud.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, it was just kind of like, okay, I'm not just throwing a guitar over my shoulder and with reckless abandon dropping out of college and going to Nashville. I have some groundwork here and parents who support me. And that was when it happened. But the B Street Band was a huge part of that, and a big propeller of me finding my voice that was outside of just being a good singer.
That is fantastic. Well, that Tommy Mottola, I mean, he discovered Mariah. I mean, right? It wasn't the same guy, right?
Yes.
So that amazing
That's him.
trajectory. So yeah, when I think
He's
your
a Broadway
voice,
producer now too, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we can hit him up about that. He is. That's what he's doing.
The Rich Redmond Show. We'll be right back.
those who are self-employed, especially musicians, think homeownership is unattainable. For Bruce Cline, it took 7 years to purchase his first home as a self-employed working musician. But once he did, man, was it satisfying. So he decided he wanted to help other musicians and creatives gain that same satisfaction. Bruce earned his lending license and is now helping people avoid the mistakes he made on his 7-year journey. If you're a self-employed musician, he can help. Go to musiciansmortgage.com, powered by Movement Mortgage.
Bruce Cline, NMLS, number 1465948. Movement Mortgage supports equal housing opportunity. NMLS, number 39179. NMLS, consumeraccess.org.
Henry Ford once said that if you need a machine and don't buy it, then you will ultimately find that you have paid for it and don't have it. Nothing could be truer about energy-efficient LED lighting in your business. At Big Dot Lighting, we can show you how a portion of your savings from a commercial LED lighting upgrade will be paid for in hardly any time at all. Until then, you're paying for them anyway. Book a no-cost lighting energy assessment with Big Dot Lighting. At least 30% of your utility bill is waiting to be saved. Go to bigdotlighting.com.
Are you a drummer looking to expand your drumming vocabulary or take your career to the next level? You can connect with me for one-on-one virtual lessons and consultations that are now 30% off. I cover topics like styles, reading music, the Nashville number system, charting, music business 101, and career guidance. Simply send me an email at booking@richredmond.com to schedule. And for more information on all of my products and services, visit richredmond.com.
This is the Rich Redmond Show.
Would you like to treat everyone to an amazing song?
Yes, and let's make it amazing, shall we?
Yes.
Let's try.
Amazing. I'll do the.
This is a song that is off Have a Seat that we just put out
Nice.
very recently, and the video is out for it, which I should mention, Rich, is part of a trilogy. So we Tarantino'd you with this video. We showed you the end of what's going on. What are we fighting for? But I wrote this on my back porch with Alex and Larry, and
Great.
contentious times kind of help sometimes with writing. What are we fighting for? Don't even know anymore. Baby, aren't you worried? We're caught in the fury. What are we fighting for? How did we lose our way? Baby, I still keep used to share everything, now we don't know where to begin. How did we lose our way? I know I don't know everything, but you'll never know what I can bring to the table if you don't have a seat with me. Honey, won't you hear me out? When did it get so loud? If you don't understand, just keep holding my hand. Honey, won't you hear me out? I know I don't know everything, but you'll never know what I can bring to the table if you don't have a seat with me. To the table if you don't have a seat with me. time. We can stop keeping score. That's worth fighting for. Oh yeah, baby. What are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? Oh, what are we fighting? Oh, hey, what are we fighting for? I said, hey, what are we fighting for? Oh, yeah, what are we fighting for? Hey, yeah, I just don't know anymore. Ooh, what are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? Oh yeah, baby. What are we fighting for? What are we fighting for?
Oh, that was me. Sorry.
Yes.
I like
Amazing.
at the end for it.
You got to love it when somebody just opens their mouth and pure talent comes pouring out.
Yes.
I mean, that's
When you get those goosebumps and it's like,
yeah.
this ain't no karaoke singer. I mean, and you wrote the song.
Yes, thank you for saying that.
I mean, that's just
It's effortless, and she's from a seated position.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can only imagine you in the power stance with a tambourine. Hello.
Well, and that song, the production on it, I love a good tambourine. The production on it starts so quietly, and then it gets hugely dynamic at the end. It's fun to play with the band, and we thought it might be a good, on the sequencing of the album, a good finale, but instead we decided to start the whole project with it when you play Have a Seat from top to bottom, because I definitely do not have all the answers. I have very few answers, but I love that it just opens it, and it's called Have a Seat with the question of like, what are we fighting for? And that both means what are we, like, what gets us out of bed in the morning? And then also like, what is the point of some of the rhetoric that we're hurling at each other?
Yeah.
And for me, that's something that I'm trying to remind myself to ask when I'm in the heat of the moment. My husband probably would like for me to do that too.
It's so, yeah. Well, you know, it's so funny. I got so many emails from that husband of yours, and I didn't put two and two together that he was your husband until I looked at the wiki, and I was like, oh, that's her old man. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Old married lady.
I like that. Put him to work. You answer my emails and book my events. I love that.
He's really good. I'm right brain. He's left brain. But it's also let us be super productive during this time. And we share in something that we love, and we get to walk with it together. I don't recommend it for everybody by any means. Also, I have a red phone. I work with Narvel Blackstock. So if I need to not put up with Austin's BS, I have another crew at Starstruck
You can go to the,
he works with.
You can
Like
go
a
to the
bat
brass. You can go to the brass.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I want a different answer than what I'm getting right now. So
Well, that was just, I mean, that was so good. That's just goosebump material. And I just have mad respect. And, you know, as somebody who's dragged their cajon and djembe around in the late 90s all over Nashville, trying to meet songwriters and going to if you guys don't know in the audience what a songwriter's round is, it's like 3 or 4 songwriters, and they play 3 or 4 songs a piece, and they take turns. And sometimes there's a dude in the back playing a cajon just to give them a little taste of rhythm. And a lot of people just can't play in time, and it's a nightmare. Do you go with them or do you fight them? And that was like a soulful metronome. It would have been so easy just to drop in with you.
Well, thank you. That was something I was thinking about while I was playing it at one point. And then I came back to what I was doing, because it's got some weird pushes in it. And I play guitar and piano mostly to write songs, and I want to get to a place where it's becoming part of my performance. And I play acoustic on a few songs for rhythm, but you know, got some work to do.
No, we've all got work to
Nashville,
do.
it can be discouraging because you just shake a bush and then some session musician pops out, and the person making coffee at your favorite place can sing and play circles around you. So
Yeah. It's just
keeps
like
you humble.
in Los Angeles, all of your waiters are really fine actors.
Right.
And in Nashville, everybody is writing a song or is a musician. It is a truth. And back in the 90s when I moved, it was Guitar Town. It was like the Steve Earle song. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I really feel like it's Drum Town. It's like so many drummers looking for jobs.
There are
Drums are easy. They are.
Jim's opened up Pandora's
There you
box.
go.
He really is. Thanks, Jim.
Well, I would disagree with you, Jim, but
Think so?
Yeah.
I've never really attempted.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun.
Maybe it's easy to be a decent drummer, but to be a great drummer.
The difference between decent and great. Yeah, that's a chasm.
There are some great drummers in Nashville, but I'm not just seeing them everywhere I go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm so looking forward to that album to drop. That is fantastic. And you already had one single, right, off of it, Do It?
Yes. Yeah, we had Do It, which we started off as just like our fun anthem. I wanted to put out something as the first song that was celebratory.
Yeah.
And that's what we went with.
I wrote down some favorite song titles because I was like just devouring the Spotify, kind of like trying to get a sense of how I went backwards, like from when you first were putting things out and just seeing how you changed your sound and matured and all that kind of stuff. And I wrote some song titles down and I'm having a hard time reading them. I got to tell you, Long Way to Go. Love that one. Change the Whole Thing. Body on Fire. Smooth. And I mean, these things transcend everything from like triple AC pop to old soul, funk. That Hey Blondie, were you guys watching Footloose when you recorded that? Because it is a total tip of the hat.
I love that. We weren't, but we do this Bill Murray event every year for like his Caddyshack reunion thing.
Really?
Maybe.
Really?
How did that come about?
In fact, we're about to
God.
do this. We're about to do it at the end of this month. So maybe that was like a little bug in our ear. But this was before we did that. I had just watched Debbie Harry's interview on CBS Sunday Morning, where she talks about how she got her name. And she was like, I was just getting out in front of it because I walked down the street. Hey, Blondie. Hey, Red. Like, isn't that what they say to you? And the interviewer was like an attractive journalist. And I was like, I love that she made her moniker something that is just like a reductive nickname that she probably gets when she's walking around Bowery. And then I wrote that also with Brother Love and Alex, and it just felt like something with attitude. But I love that you said that because we have to sing that song from Caddyshack and Footloose in a couple weeks, and I need to brush up on it because it could have been better last year.
Well, that'll be fun.
What's the event about? I've never even heard of it.
So Bill and his brothers every year do a charity golf tournament down in Florida. And his eldest brother, Ed, just passed away. But they're all the best people, so sweet. And they have an auction, and most of what they raise goes to charity, to different charities, depending on the sponsors. But it's a really fun reunion, and the Murray brothers, Brian Doyle Murray's there, and all these cool comedians that are friends with them. Like, they have a lot of really neat guests that show up, and people from Grace Potter's band and Darius Rucker's band. We're buddies with them, and they help us pull off the musical portion of the evening, which is just a huge party under a tent, which is also a crazy thing. It was supposed to be last April, but was canceled for obvious reasons. And this is our return to the debauchery that is the Caddyshack golf tournament. And I get to play golf, and then I go sing. So
you've got a busy April, Maggie. I mean, I do. A lot of stuff happening. I think it's signaling a change. And speaking,
life is coming back.
Well, yeah, keeping with the theme of offbeat humor. If you're up for it, we have a fun game called the Random Question of the Day.
No.
No, it's not fun. Completely random. I
hope it's a good one today. If not, we'll skip it and go to something else.
We're gonna make things tense. I don't like that one. Okay. I don't like that one either. Okay. What state or country do you never want to go back to?
Oh, no.
What? I don't feel that way about anywhere that I've visited. And
Nowhere?
I don't feel that about
Delaware?
I love Delaware because I grew up in Maryland. I would go to the beach in Delaware all the time.
You don't hear
West
about Delaware
Virginia.
or Rhode Island. You just don't hear about these states.
Rhode Island's nice.
Beautiful.
No-
I do like
West
Wayne's
Virginia.
World. It's like, hi, we're in Delaware.
That's what I'm thinking. I thought of Dwayne's World. Hey, we're in Delaware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
They're
the
in front of green
Dakotas, the
screen.
Dakotas don't get much love, you know. I mean, we go there once every 2 years.
They
maybe.
don't. They
Yeah.
don't. I
You
love.
find-
Well, and your boss wrote the best song about that. Flyover
Flyover
States.
States.
What a
One
good
of my
one.
favorite country songs.
Dakota,
When I heard that song
Dakota.
for the first time, I heard the demo, and I got just the goosebumps. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a big one."
It is.
One of
That
the
was a
best
good one.
written songs.
That
Tell
Neil
Jason I'm proud of
Thrasher,
him.
he can write a song. That Neil Thrasher.
Let Jason know that I'm proud of him for that one.
You bet.
Do you feel when you guys go to those states? Do you kind of come out and like, "Hey, how are you, you hoser"? You kind of adopt their accents and stuff like that, or
I don't think she does that.
I
figure
sometimes do feel, because I grew up, no, you said I don't. I sort of feel that I do. Growing up in my mid-Atlantic area, we weren't north or south, so I'm very
straight laced.
adaptable. I find that I'm just leaning into the accents of people that I'm around.
Someone told me
sometimes.
today, "Yeah, you kind of sound like you're from the South." I said, "Are you out of your mind? What kind of South are you thinking?"
Yeah, like South Connecticut.
Fairfield County. I grew up around New York City, pal.
Well, Maggie, I don't want to keep you
Completely
too long. You are so great. It was just awesome to soak up some of your juju today. Some of the talent, you're just leaking talent. I mean, it's just so great. And I'm so excited about the new project, the new album coming out this summer, and all that. You're very busy, April. And of course, I want to encourage everybody to check out MaggieRoseMusic.com. And then you're on the gram as I Am Maggie Rose. Is that where you do most of your business, the gram, or are you on
do.
Facebook ever? You're so young. That's an old person.
I am on
place.
Facebook. Well, I mean, that's this game. If you want to be in the music industry, I think you have to use all these wonderful
You do TikTok?
portals that we have. That's
Yes.
where you got me. I respect the TikTok flex. I really do. I'm trying to just keep it like music and food based when I do it.
Yeah.
But I need the thought process that is like, oh, I need to TikTok right now. And I just am not, the synapses aren't firing for me yet.
If not music, what other thing would you be doing? Like if
This
it
is
were,
a
it wasn't.
really
a good one,
Pollyanna
Jen.
answer, but there is nothing else.
No.
There's nothing else. And in fact, this will take all the Disney princess answer away. When people ask me if they should do music, I'm like, do you have a plan B? And they say that they do. I'm like, well, then don't do music. So that is sort of like, that's the kind of commitment I think. you
Plan
have to
B
have
is
to it.
planning to fail.
Yeah.
I've heard
I
that
think
before.
fear of success is a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah, my backup plan was teaching music, and it's like it's a backup plan that I actually use all the time because it's a cool way to, affect a future generation and to mentor, and you can make a little bit extra money on the side. So it's like my backup plan became just part of the pie,
Can I tell the
Well,
Spencer
I think that's
homework
under
story?
the umbrella, though.
The
still.
umbrella.
The other night, this world-class drummer that we have on with us, Maggie, was helping my son with his rhythm homework over FaceTime. So
Oh, Jim, that's
it's
so
worked
sweet.
out. It's worked out for him.
Did he get a good grade? Your son?
Hey, I think he got like an 88.
That's
I have
not bad.
questions. I have questions. What software are they using? Because for me, I've been doing a ton of writing virtually over this time, and there's a delay that I'm having to send dozens of voice memos before we finish the song while it's in progress so that we're on time. So they must have some serious bandwidth on whatever they're using to have the rhythm sync up.
Oh no, I think the homework, Jim, wasn't it like it was like they would write out like a whole note and then
Yeah.
half note and then two
okay.
quarter notes. You got to count it out, you know?
Yeah.
So they don't need to. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
It was really
I was
basic
about to
stuff.
just be like, Jim, when we're done, I need to talk to you about software.
Yeah, there is that
It's been driving me
latency.
crazy.
That Zoom latency is so crazy. We had a drummer friend on, and Jim was playing like a track, and he was behind his drums, and he played along, and he was exactly at that BPM. He was 1/8 note off, but it's not always that exact, you know? So
Nothing bursts your bubble like
yeah.
that kind of discrepancy.
Yeah, because like when you're Zoom writing, say you're writing with a drummer and they want to like, you know, keep a groove for you, you can't because it's that just millisecond off.
Here's a good question, something that I just thought of, and this is probably something we should incorporate in future shows.
Okay, Jim.
Of the artists today, you know, how we always talk about legacy artists that their song comes on the radio and you're like, my gosh, there's music and good music, and there's just sometimes the greatest songs of our generation.
Sure.
You know, Huey Lewis has got them, you know, Van Halen and all the different, you know, songs that come to mind, Journey. What artists of today do you think we're going to have the same reverence for in 20 years, 25 years?
Oof.
Anybody stand out?
This new Bruno Mars Anderson .Paak album is bananas.
I got to
gonna
check
say
it out.
Bruno
I am
Mars.
behind. We had Eric
It's-
on the show. I got to check it out.
Bananas.
Yeah.
It will blow your mind. I'm, you know, I think Tina Turner and Beyonce comparisons are evident. And we'll look at just what she's done from a performative standpoint, especially with like Total Reverence. Casey Musgraves, Golden Hour is really special. God, there's a lot of really good music out there right now. I am excited to see who becomes like the next superstar and hoping that
They're out there.
labels, I believe that too. And hoping labels will really invest in not just making great records with their artists, but developing them to be like the embodiment of that too.
The next big artist could be on YouTube. Wasn't that
I
Megan
think so.
Trainor's story?
I forget how Megan was discovered. Yeah.
She a YouTube artist or a YouTuber?
I
at
think
one
that,
point?
well, All About That Bass blew up on YouTube just because the song and the message and the video that went with it was pretty great, revolutionary. But there are a lot of people that I think are making some insane material right
Yeah,
now.
Bruno Mars definitely, and Lady Gaga comes to mind.
Yeah, she's a chameleon from the
She's
Born This
Madonna.
Way to Joanne, and I look to her a lot for
Yeah.
what she can do, and as an actor too, bringing that to the screen, and just the fluidity that she has as an artist is pretty rare.
She is the Madonna of our generation, reinventing herself. That's what Madonna always did.
She did.
Yeah.
She still does.
Any interest in acting? Because you can kind of probably
Oh, totally.
put
She
your
did a
foot in
little
the
acting.
door there, just squeeze your foot in the door there and get a little
Yeah.
something, you know?
I have an acting coach that I work with, and it's for voice work. It's to supplement what I'm doing on stage, especially during this time where it's like a muscle that you need to keep flexing. And he calls it a governor when you kind of hold yourself back from going all the way. And I think that has returned a little bit for me this year with not the routine of being on stage. So keeping that up with him helps me push that away and not revert to the scared child state.
Is it
that we
like
can all revert
voice
to.
voiceover work or just vocal exercise type work?
It's just acting and reading sides and doing some. It actually has not very much to do with music, but I think that it goes hand in hand with
Sure.
what I do with music on stage.
Yeah, because there's so much reacting and listening involved
Right.
in that craft
Listening.
that you could take it to the stage. Yeah. I love that.
What were you saying? Sorry.
Jim, he's really crazy. You see why I keep him around? He is amazing.
Why
make
you
a good
keep me
team.
around?
Yeah, come
I
on.
produce these things. Come
That's
on.
true. That is so true. So
reason.
Maggie, any parting thoughts? I think we promoted all the amazing things coming up in April, the new single, the new record. We got your amazing podcast, the live podcast event. We covered a lot of ground.
You covered it all, and you did all your homework. The album comes out on August 20th.
Nice.
And
That's my birthday.
Nice, Jim.
Oh, well, I did it for your birthday.
That's a great present.
Exactly. You totally did. I'm giving that the harp.
I'm adding that to the calendar title, album release day and Jim's birthday.
Nice.
And
If you do
we're
that,
already
that'd be
putting
great.
Season 2 of Salute the Songbird together and filling up our calendars. We're going to announce a bunch of tour dates soon, and I'm ready. Let's do this. I can't wait to see everybody in person, and
Yeah.
I'm happy that we've
exciting.
all made it through, and hopefully we've learned some lessons on the way. I certainly have, but
For sure. Yeah, I learned a lot this year. Definitely grew. But yeah, we just need to go back to bringing the music to the people. And I think people are going to be more appreciative of it than ever. And ourselves as the givers of that gift. I mean, I'm so excited to go back and work my craft. I mean, it is going to be so fun.
it's going to be euphoric. I think people will be over the moon about it.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
Hey,
gonna be
can you get
special.
Lucinda Williams on the podcast? I'm a big fan.
She's on my list.
Good.
She's like definitely someone I would love to have. She's such a good songwriter.
That Car Wheels on a
Wonderful
Gravel
artist.
Road, 1999. It just
So
holds up. I can listen to it from front to back. Never gets old.
If you have any other ideas, please let me
Emily
know.
West.
I love
Emma.
Emily West. She's a buddy. That
I love that Emily West.
We've had
I've
some
shared
good
a lot of
times together.
goose bump moments with Emily West on stage.
she's one of the best singers ever.
Fantastic.
and-
Oh my God. Well, we're going to let you go. We're going to
Wonderfully
let you go
weird.
write that next hit song.
Thank you.
We just love you sharing your talent with us. We're so excited about all the stuff you got coming up. MaggieRoseMusic.com. Everyone check that out. Jim, thank you for your time and talent, man. I always appreciate it. And
Of course.
to the listener out there, we have an email address for you, therichrredmondshow@gmail.com. And as always, my ask is to subscribe, share, rate, and review. It helps people find our show in the million other podcasts that are out there. So thank you. Keep coming back for the good stuff. We'll be here. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
This has been The Rich Redmond Show. Subscribe, rate, and follow along at richredmond.com.